Welcome into another episode of the DNVR Avalanche Trade Deadline Frenzy. We're talking about the one team that, after this year, may still be in the Avs division, a divisional rival in some senses, but a team that just can't seem to get it right.
A team that there's a lot of vultures circling right now. There's a lot of trying to pick the bones.
There is a lot of trying to pick the bones. Some bones are juicy, some not as much. Start with the forwards from Nashville here with Erik HAULA.
We're not starting with Matt Duchene?
We are not starting with Matt Duchene on an $8 million contract, and neither is anybody else.
Okay. Well said. Look, Erik HAULA was a guy that we talked about in the offseason quite a bit. Yep. I liked him as a potential bounce back after the injury issues had kind of plagued him. Was curious to see how he would do in Nashville, playing on kind of an offensively tilted third-line role, which is what I had envisioned for him in Colorado. We're including him in here because a lot of people bring him up, in part because we spent a lot of time in the offseason talking about him. But this is, for me, this is a hard pass. The injury issues seem to have taken a serious toll on his ability to play any kind of meaningful defense. He gets regularly crushed in possession metrics. And for a guy that's supposed to be a decent defensive center, has not been for the last couple of years. And expecting it to just magically come back, I think, is fool's gold.
Look, the one thing that I find encouraging is I think he's one of the better passers of the bunch of guys when we're talking about third-line players that could be available.
Dope.
But I don't see where this guy fits on the Avalanche at all.
I mean, he would have been a perfectly fine 3C option.
Yep.
Had he reverted to previous levels. And I'm not talking 29-goal Vegas in their first year.
You get 35 points out of the guy, and you're happy.
I'm talking even the job that he had when he was playing early in his career in Minnesota.
Sure. Where
he was a 10-goal guy and was, speed kills and a great PK addition. There were a lot of things to like about Erik HAULA that fit Colorado's identity. And I think as we've just seen this year, he's simply not that guy anymore.
Yep.
For me, this is honestly a hard pass. I would be disappointed if they did this.
It's in this series, we don't have many guys on the list that we're talking about as must avoid for the Avs.
The biggest reason he's being talked about on this list is because of the amount that he gets brought up to us by other people. And so we can't exactly do a Nashville video without touching on him.
We're bringing him up because this is Derek Brassard vibes right now. Don't make the mistake again.
I mean, I don't even... Brassard's been tough because he's bounced back, okay? But
that's what I'm saying is maybe there is 100% a world where Erik HAULA finds success on a hockey team next year.
Yeah, he goes to the Islanders and he's good.
But I don't think Colorado is the team to get him there.
Yeah, for me, this is just a no thanks. I think I'm good on Erik HAULA.
So there you go. It's out there. We've said it. No Erik HAULA. Don't do it. Let's take a look at the other forward. Is this big game? Is this not big game in Mikael Granlund?
So this is like decent name recognition here,
but actual
a former top 10 pick, a guy who had 60 points, and a guy who looked like he was going to be part of the offensive engine in Minnesota. For their during their heyday, during their big
when
run.
They were on the come up for sure.
Yeah. And when Parise and Suter signed there, it was because they had a guy like Mikael Granlund who was young and they were going to develop with. And it really, there's two Mikael Granlunds in their career. The Minnesota, who was frustrating in his inconsistency. The lack of production was at times really frustrating for people there, because expectations were so high and his skill level just it jumps off the ice to you. You see him do things, and you just wonder why is this guy only producing 40 points?
Somewhat Nazem Kadri-esque in that regard, where the talent is off the charts, but the consistency just has never quite been there.
Well, and a guy that gets involved in a lot of great scoring chances, but doesn't
a whole
always
lot
bury
of
them.
no result, but a lot of pretty.
Yeah, exactly. Granlund. Look, Granlund he would be a very, very interesting change of pace for Colorado.
Yep.
If he comes in and he plays the center spot on their third line between Val Nichushkin and Jonas Donskoy, it's a much more offensively tilted line.
Yep.
It's no knock on Tyson Jost, who would have to then, I don't know,
become
maybe
4C, whatever.
Maybe he goes the other way in that deal. I don't even know what happens with Tyson Jost, but that's an instant upgrade offensively in that job.
Yep. I don't hate that line either. You get both Nichushkin and Granlund are going to give you some pretty good work down deep in the zone, grind guys up a little bit, and still have that offensive ability with Granlund. I do wonder, though, you already see this some with Donskoy and Nichushkin, to where they can just disappear in games sometimes.
Yeah, the consistency is definitely going to be a question. That's also part of what makes third liners.
You're right.
My biggest question is, and this is not to say that Tyson Jost brings like a real element of toughness and grit, but that I feel like that line gets pretty soft with Granlund.
Yeah, certainly in their own zone, especially. I think.
like again, not to say that Tyson Jost is like grip master,
right?
But I think there is an element of work ethic that is there on a consistent basis with Jost that does not exist with Granlund.
Yeah, and look, Nichushkin's underlyings defensively are great, but he has to carry that line defensively if that's what you're going to throw out there.
And right now, Jost and Nichushkin are splitting duties, carrying the defensive load there. They're really playing off each other nicely. While Donskoy is, just dropping goals out of thin air, but that's going to stop at some point. And this is where Granlund, as a natural offensive playmaker and scorer, just a very dynamic offensive talent, changes the complexion.
That out for sure. Yeah.
I'm not sure what price would be. It would be an awkward price, but I think there's a clear line between, I'm comfortable with this, and this is way too much.
I do wonder, given the current climate of the league, if Granlund's contract price tag actually makes him a little bit cheaper as far as the trade value teams would have to give up to acquire him.
It might. I mean, he's in kind of a strange spot.
Very weird in-between area with him.
Yeah,
for sure.
And the tale of his two careers, the very productive player in Minnesota, and then he, like so many other guys,
have just
bottomed out
Nashville,
offensively upon getting to Nashville.
Yep.
So there's a lot of reason to be excited about the idea of pulling him out of there and getting him into an environment in Colorado, which I think is tailored a lot more to his skill set.
Yep. I don't disagree with
He'd
that.
be a really interesting ad.
One that maybe is a little bit less clear than some of the others, but certainly one with more upside too.
I think the upside play on a Granlund acquisition is as high as it is with almost any other.
Yeah. I think that's a good way to put it. Let's talk about at least one player who hasn't had their career crater in Nashville.
It's because he's been there the whole time.
If you're going big game hunting, if you're hunting Predators, Mattias Ekholm on defense would be the home run swing.
So if he's the Predator, does that make Joe Sakic Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Yes, hunting him down.
We need to get that scene from Predator where Schwarzenegger has the torch and he's got the face paint and he's just like standing there and he's roaring with it, and we just need to put
in his face.
Joe Sakic's face on it.
Oh my goodness! And then this makes perfect sense too, because Jacob McDonald is the alien.
Yeah.
It's all coming together.
That's right.
All right. Illuminati confirmed.
When does the little dude pop out of Jacob McDonald's chest is now my concern in life.
Oh, God.
I think I'm good not being in the locker room this year. I'm good. But Mattias Ekholm, I think, is the biggest game at this deadline. We've talked about it in previous videos. The Avalanche have the ability to do whatever they want. They can go as big as they want.
Yep.
This would be massive. This would cause them expansion draft problems, but this would be a guy. This is
the you're gonna win it move.
This is the. I don't want to say Ray Bork because there were a lot of things there, but maybe this is closer to the Rob Blake.
Yeah, you could make that argument for sure.
And his contract is, look, if they can get through expansion.
Right.
They would have 2 playoff runs with Mattias Ekholm before he gets into free agency, because for under $4 million, could you imagine with me, live in this world, just in this moment with me, where they have Sam Girard, Devon Toews, and Mattias Ekholm all on the right side.
Oh, and then you have Cale Makar.
They are combined.
Yep.
Making under $13 million.
Yo,
the 3 of them.
That's insane. Sam Girard is the highest paid one of those 3. That's crazy.
At $5 million. Ekholm's deal is at $3.75, I believe.
Yep.
So we're talking. I mean, that if they could, it would present an expansion problem. It would present a price tag problem. It would present what happens when he wins the cup and then goes back to Nashville next year when they're a division rival again and is skating around, as a Stanley Cup champion in an Avs uniform. Do they raise a banner for him?
Oh, ooh.
Is there a developed Mattias Ekholm banner that they get to have? There are so many upsides to this. The one true downside here is expansion.
Yep.
You have an expansion draft problem. The cost to get him, because then you don't want to just then lose him in expansion.
I mean, maybe you're okay with it if you do the thing.
You don't, though. Like, you're very happy that you got what you wanted, but you also paid the price that it's going to cost
for a second year
for
sure.
2 playoff runs.
That's true.
So at that point, then you're paying a first-round pick. You're paying a high-end prospect. You're probably paying some sort of an NHL player, and then you have to pay Seattle to not take him, because for me, he's the guy that I would expose. You protect Girard, Makar, and Toews, and then you get EJ to waive. And of course, the EJ conversation is in a weird space right now, but one that we will tackle later on. But then you wouldn't be able to protect Ekholm, because you're not going to protect Ekholm over a guy like Burakovsky.
There's 0 chance the Avs protect 4 forwards. That will never happen.
Yeah, going 4 and 4 would make no sense.
Yeah, that 7 is just correct.
So it would be problematic, and the reason I'm harping on it is because it would be an actual problem.
Yep.
They would put themselves into a position where Seattle would almost just not have interest. And just say, we'll just take Mattias Ekholm.
Why not just take this dude? Yeah.
Who is an analytics monster, who is a great player, and a guy that would, to add Devon Toews and Mattias, we talk about how Bowen Byram is like their 4th guy right now. Well, this is an actual top 4 guy.
Yep.
A fully developed, in the prime of his career, top 4 guy, where you put him next to Cale Makar and then you roll out that Girard and Toews pairing. You already are the best defensive team in the NHL. Now you have, talent-wise, by far the best defense in the NHL, because now Bowen Byram is on your 3rd pairing.
You're talking about one of the best defenses of all time at that point.
That's so tough to get into, especially
not in this video.
Yeah,
certainly.
Certainly one of the strongest defenses in the modern era.
Sure.
I think of the last 20 years, it definitely would be. Look, it would push the 01 team, which had 2 Hall of Famers in Blake and Bork.
I think it's better than the 01 teams if
like
you get Ekholm.
It would be. I don't see a second Hall of Famer on Colorado's D.
I hear you, but
if you have 4 All-Stars
Yeah.
versus 2 Hall of Famers, like,
how does
do you,
it balance
how
out?
do you balance
Yeah.
all that out? Yeah.
What is Bo and Byram's ceiling? Are we going to look
Yeah,
back in
right,
5
right,
years
right,
and be
right.
like, oh, this was insane?
Does Bo and Byram turn into an All-Star where you're like, oh, they had 5 guys who would eventually make All-Star? Yeah. That would be a truly stacked defense. And that's the appeal, is that you're not going out there and asking Ryan Graves to do anything more than just not screw this up, Gravy.
Yep.
And we know that he can do that job really well.
For sure.
He can do the, okay, I just won't mess this up. You get a little left-handed heavy, but Ekholm has moved around his entire career. So
comfortable playing work.
I would love this because I love when teams get bold. It creates a very real expansion problem. We are probably paying his acquisition would come with 2 prices, but the hockey fan in me would love this because that defense would be special. Plus, you keep him from going elsewhere.
That is true.
You know, Vegas is always a team that gets involved in stuff, and at a $3.75 million price tag, that guy could fit under Vegas if they're able to move some money around. The St. Louis Blues are a team that always are lurking on big deals. You got to be careful about those guys. So
it will be interesting to see how the West Division arms race shapes up into this deadline.
Yeah, it was interesting in the offseason, and then now that everybody has spent all their money and they're all cap strapped, it will be fascinating to watch at the deadline.
Who can maneuver it the best? We'll have to wait and see. That's going to do it for this video. Be sure to like and subscribe on YouTube. That helps us out a ton. Of course, check out all of AJ's and Evan's amazing content over at thednvr.com. Still, more videos to come on the trade deadline, more options for the Avs, so stick with us here and check for new videos on the regular. We will see you guys in the next one.